We hate to interrupt your evening programs, but we have a breakthrough in the world of physics.
The 1921 Nobel Prize for Physics has been announced, and it has been awarded to Albert Einstein to his work revolving around photoelectric effect.
Einstein actually explained this phenomenon in 1905, roughly 20 years after Heinrich Hertz was the first to capture it.
This came after American Robert tested the claims for Einstein, only to find out that Einstein was in fact correct.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience to live through a scientific breakthrough this impactful. We are witnessing a revolutionary change in the world of physics and the birth of what we believe to be the quantum model.
Yes, you are correct. I wonder how the scientists of old will take this change. We are completely refining the classical model to form this much more accurate quantum model.
So what do you know about Einstein's works?
Well, I know that this phenomenon happens when light is focused on a metal surface. Electrons then are emitted from the metal into frequency and passes through threshold known as work function.
This revolution came with the introduction of a wave duality of nature, suggesting that light can behave as both a wave and a particle.
Would you like to explain what this wave duality thing really is?
Well, why don't I pass it to our reporter on the field and let the experts handle this?
Thank you. So as it seems like the anchors had a question for you before we get started. So the question is, what is the wave duality of nature?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. So the wave duality of nature is simply just how light can behave both as a wave and a particle, which has been a groundbreaking discovery that we came across that has definitely changed the way that we view physics currently.
Now, how does this impact the wave in very certain aspects in quantum mechanics?
Yeah, so this definitely has created a split between what we now know as classical and this new age of quantum physics. However, many of the times they do agree. The only differences that we really came across is when we go into the very tiny scale, which is what we focus more on the quantum side. Um, so this new birth of what we now know as quantum mechanics has opened the door for many possible new discoveries and new inventions that we've never possibly had before.
Now, there's many people that have believed that you've stolen this idea from other scientists. Now, what do you say to those in response for these people that have said that that you have stolen this idea from other scientists that have already discovered it before?
I think science is definitely a thing, like a form of study that you take from what others have given us. So I don't believe I stole. I believe I've just bettered society with the findings from other scientists. So I do like to appreciate and thank the work done by Hertz, Thomson, Leonard, and Planck for their groundbreaking discoveries in the world of physics and the world of humankind as well. They allowed me to combine their ideas and work upon their ideas to make this groundbreaking discovery that we now know as photoelectric effect.
Now, as we know that Hertz uses a high voltage induction coil, which causes a spark between pieces of brass with a transmitter and also receiver to detect radiation emission, which is also produced with the ejection of electrons from a metal. So what made you have this breakthrough that is different from what Hertz is?
Yeah, I think definitely finding out the wave duality was a lot different than what Hertz has. Obviously, the idea wasn't there yet, so believing that light can behave as a particle allowed us to make this research. So what I used was Planck's hypothesis of energy quantization concept, but instead I proposed that the light behaved as quantum energy that I viewed as photons, which behaved like these particles like we talked about, rather than just simply as waves. So with this new concept of wave-particle duality uh, that I explained earlier, I was able to explain the foundation of photoelectric effect that Hertz discovered 20 odd years ago. So I was able to show that the kinetic energy of these ejected electrons is equal to the incident photon minus the minimum energy required to remove that electron. So thus the incident photon must be greater than that minimum, meaning that we must have like a minimum energy threshold on from the light to eject these electrons from the metal.
Now, how do these electrons actually bounce off the metal? Now, is it the amount of light, or is it the total time under the light, or is it, just the intensity of the light that's being shined through to the metal?
Yeah, it's actually the frequency of the light. As the intensity, as many might believe from classical view, actually has nothing to do with the ejection of electrons. It really does have to do with the frequency, as there is a frequency threshold that must be met. So regardless of if we, shine it for multiple, like for a long time, it won't really change the difference.
Now, so what you're saying is that I couldn't just put a piece of metal under a lamp and then expect electrons to be emitted for under like many days per se.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. So you can't just pop out like a flashlight and shine it over a piece of metal and expect the electrons or expect a spark to come out. And that's where our separation from classical to quantum physics is really differing in this case. Usually we can view like the intensity of something or the duration of something affect the overall structure of it. But in this case, it's actually the frequency of the light rather than the time it takes to do everything.
Now, you said a bunch of like, a lot of really scientific words. You said a lot of big words there. So can you just simplify the photoelectric effects for everyone that's watching, to, catch up with you and how this is actually, like important and relative in news
Yeah.
now?
So the photoelectric effect is a phenomenon that I discovered where electrons are emitted from a metal surface when light is shined on it with sufficient enough frequency that allows the electrons to be emitted from that metal.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for explaining your major discovery. Before I send it to you back into the studio, it is amazing work that Einstein was able to conduct in regards to the photoelectric effect in the realm of quantum mechanics. The change in how we view light and the wave duality in creating the foundation of quantum mechanics, causing a new change in how we understand the world from original classic view. And with that, we'll go back to you in the studio.
And welcome back to the studio, and thank you all again for the disruption of your normally televised program.
It's so intriguing to listen to the new discoveries in the world of science.
I wonder what ways we can use this phenomenon to enhance the technologies that could possibly change the world.
I'm getting word from our executives that the photoelectric effect is being used to improve solar cells, which are the main component of solar panels. They are light sensors like the ones in cameras we use to record this, and other imaging technologies.
These photocells have led to the creation of so many things we use in everyday life, such as automatic doors in our own garage door. And these utilize photocells to generate electricity when exposed to light.
And that's our time, folks. But before we sign off, I'd like to take a moment to remind you that this entire broadcast, including you watching it, was only possible in part thanks to the photoelectric effect.